guys, Matthew here from the Who Addicts, joined by Liv and Jacob for another review for Doctor Who Series 11. This week, of course, we are going to be looking at episode 8 of 10. Oh my goodness.
The end is near.
The end is round the corner. Of course, this week we're going to be talking about The Witchfinders, which had a little bit of hype behind it. I think a lot of people were saying that it's one of the most anticipated episodes of the series. A lot of people very excited for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, what did we think of it then? Before we obviously delve deeper into it. I mean, bearing in mind the three of us hadn't spoke about this yet. Jacob's only just been able to watch it not too long ago. Myself and Liv watched it when it aired. Weren't fans of it. Watched it again tonight. Might have changed our opinion slightly. So I have no idea where this review is going to go.
That's interesting.
So who wants to kick this off? Because we've all got grins on our faces. Jacob he's just I can sense his grin from 100 miles away.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's there.
Let's go. Who wants to go first?
I think you should. I'm really intrigued to see what you thought of it, because I just remember because I was busy last night, so I didn't get to watch it, but my phone just started going off constantly. I was like, what's going on? And then I saw that you tweeted being like, 20 minutes in, and there's on my phone, and I'm looking at my watch, and it's rubbish, and it's boring, and I hate it. And I'm like, oh God, is it that bad? So, the second watch, you think has done you good?
Well, on first watch, I wouldn't say I hated it. I found it a bit slow on first watch, and I come out of it. I just didn't feel anything. I felt a bit indifferent. I didn't really know if I liked it or not. I literally was as glued to the fence as you could possibly be. I had no idea what I felt. I just kind of went, oh, that happened. I don't know how I feel. So I was desperate to rewatch it because I saw so much love for this episode on Twitter and YouTube, and I just thought, why am I not feeling this? I want to feel, maybe I just wasn't in the zone, maybe I wasn't engaged, maybe I just wasn't in that place to really enjoy it on Sunday. So yeah, we watched it tonight, and I liked it a lot more on rewatch. Still not perfect. It's still not perfect. There are a lot more parts to it that I appreciate, but then there's some parts that I found more flaws with that I liked less than I did on first watch. So I was very much in the middle, and then some things have went up, and then some things have went down.
Okay. What about you, Liv? Were you glued to your phone in this one?
Oh, how do I put it? This episode...
It was crap.
Uh-oh.
This is not my sort of episode for me, I don't think. And the thing was about it is, I just felt that it was so over the top. Like a pantomime, I felt it was over the top. Mainly was that, although it is for like the guest cast that were in it kind of thing. So he ain't much of a fan.
Oh.
He ain't much of a fan.
Oh dear. And you watched it for a second time. Did you like it more or less, or just the same?
Some parts I liked more, but that was about it really.
Oh. That's weird, because I actually really quite liked it.
Oh.
So we've got, I like it. Matthew, you are kind of a bit in the middle. And Liv doesn't like it. Completely split opinions, it seems.
Well, let's delve deeper into why then, and justify why Jacob is at one end, Liv's at the other, and I'm sort of in the middle of it all. So, it started with, well, I think we were in the 1700s, I'm not quite sure, I can't remember the...
17th century.
17th century, was it?
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of the biggest witch hunt in England, and we quickly bump into a character known as Miss Savage.
Becca Savage. Who
is leading these witch hunts and is basically...
Savage.
Yeah, she is a Pascal Sauvage. There's a Johnny English reference for you. But yeah, she is basically drowning any woman who she thinks could possibly be a witch. And if anyone speaks up or is against her, she will drown them. So she's basically got this entire neighbourhood stuck up with fear. So let's start with her. What did you think of Miss Savage? I can't quite remember the actress's name, but what did you think of her?
It's Sorby and somebody, I think. I think it's Sorby and somebody.
Would you say she's one of the characters that made you think that this was a little bit like a pantomime?
Not her in particular, but what drove me mad from her, so was it at the end, so it all changed in her, and so in the ending, but there in the beginning, there she was quite good.
Yeah, I thought she gave a very good performance, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
I thought she was she instantly had an impact on me as a viewer. She instantly was a little bit unlikable, but I was very intrigued as well. And very quickly, her and the Doctor got off to a very bad
Sad.
Yeah. And I thought that the confrontation scene between them two very, very early on, when the Doctor obviously jumps in, tries to save the woman, doesn't, which I thought was nice. Not nice, but it was, great to see that the Doctor couldn't quite save her. And then she had a really, really great confrontation scene with her, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. It started the episode for me in a great way. What did you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think she was a very interesting kind of, not necessarily a villain, but an evil character, and you could definitely get that evil streak coming across. So yeah, I enjoyed her character a lot.
Yeah, I thought she was very good. Obviously, we'll get to what happens with her at the end, because I certainly have thoughts on that. So we met her. Obviously, the Doctor and the companions were settled in this new place, which I thought looked fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, it did look very good.
Yeah, as always.
Set design looked great. That's just by the book, isn't it, with this series of Doctor Who? And then we bumped into...
oh, duh. Here we go.
I knew just by looking at Liv.
Here
We
we
bumped
go.
into King James I. Now, I'm stuck, because Alan Cummins gave an absolutely incredible performance, and actors can only deal with what they're given. And I thought with the script he was given, I thought he performed it unbelievably well. And I think he's up there with one of the best guest cast members we've had this series. He was amazing. There was not 1 second where I thought that he wasn't on it. Every single line, every single expression, he gave his absolute all in every scene. And there were some of the scenes where he was a little bit more toned down with the Doctor. I thought he was incredible. Really, really, really good. And I mean that. He was fantastic. But then there was the scenes where he was being funny and a little bit camp. And it was either one extreme to the other. There were scenes where I thought he was absolutely amazing, but then other scenes where he annoyed the living hell out of me. And it was the accent. And I just...
In that first scene...
Yeah.
In that first scene, so when he come in and so when he spoke and I said, Jesus Christ, why is he putting that stupid accent on? That for his character just didn't work for me at all. But there later on in the episode, that scene was the Doctor, and such a good scene, but there was his voice then just so toned down, and there was so much better, except from an annoying camp man. Do you get me where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I thought he was so much better toned down in them scenes.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from for sure, but I think it was just a bit light-hearted when he was obviously acting up a bit. Personally, I didn't take it that seriously, but I can appreciate where you're coming from, and it did at some point get a bit too much, maybe.
Yeah, I
can see where you're coming from with that.
He was in some scenes. It was like he was grabbed straight off of a West End musical or a pantomime, like you said. And I just thought that sometimes with the tone of the episode, he'd just step in and speak, and it just seemed a little bit... I don't know, it just didn't fit. I don't know, it was just...
Yeah, considering they were like against these witches, which obviously weren't witches, but you know, it didn't. It did kind of not ruin, but it did kind of alter the mood.
Yeah, but at the same time, I honestly thought that in the other scenes, he was amazing, and I really mean that. Like one of the best supporting actors we've had. Like Alan Cummins as a performance was up there with one of the best guest cast we've had all series, maybe in the last couple of series. I honestly was, just enthralled by his performance, but there were just scenes where, his
accent just drove me mad.
Yeah, his accent, his voice,
far too
his
over
mannerisms. It's like he was sort of overacting them scenes a little bit. I don't know, but
it's weird,
after all that, I still really like the guy.
So
maybe that draws the line under it. That I just like the guy. There was one other real side cast member. We might as well get the side cast out of the way. Willa was the other member who we met during the story. Of course, she was the granddaughter of the woman who was dumped at the start, and she was also a cousin of Miss Savage. What did you think of her character and her performance?
Yeah, she was good.
I think she was really good.
Yeah, I think she was good, solid. Had a innocent side to her.
Yeah.
At the start, she was getting really upset.
You kind of felt quite sorry for her.
I did.
And sympathetic for all the stuff she's obviously going through.
Well, her character sort of came around in the end, and there was a time in the middle of the story where she was tempted to side with the Doctor, but then obviously she had the whole family and the King peer pressuring her, and she fell for that peer pressure. And then at the end, her character came good again, and she realised what side she needed to be on. So I thought she was a good little character, and compared to some of the other casts we've had this series, I thought her performance was much better. So let's talk about the main cast then. I am very, very desperate to talk about the 13th Doctor.
Okay.
I thought she was incredible.
Oh, thank God for that. I thought the way you said that, you were going to have something to complain about, and I was like, are you actually going to say something bad? Because I swear to God.
No, I honestly think that she was at her best this week. I felt like she seemed so comfortable with the lines. The dialogue just felt a lot more natural to her, and she just had this swagger, this confidence about her this week. Whereas in the past couple of episodes, you could argue that she maybe has blended into the background a little bit with the companions, hasn't stood out. But every single scene she was in, I was glued to her. She was the centrepiece of the episode. Jodie's performance was amazing, and you can really tell at this point that she has settled into the role, and I'm starting to see who her Doctor is. And
yeah, she's definitely got more of a character rather than just the Doctor. Like you can tell it's her.
Yeah, I thought she was absolutely fantastic this week. Liv, you've got a puzzled look on your face.
Oh
no.
How do I say it and word it good? The thing is,
it's Liv I should be worried about.
So there's some scenes where I really enjoy her.
Yeah.
And then there's other scenes. So when she jokes around a bit too much, like gang, fam, and really, really way over the top, and I'm like, just why?
See, for me, those silly bits kind of add to the episode, because as much as it is obviously quite a serious plot and everything, I think Doctor Who does have to have a mixed bag of all emotions and all aspects of a story, rather than it would be very easy for them to just stick to everything's serious, we've got to find the solution. But I actually quite enjoy it, all those kind of funny scenes and things she says.
Yeah, I can see where she's coming from in a way, because there was one scene where at the very beginning where she was confronting Savage, and just when she was about to sort of, when she was really at the top of her game, she then forgot her psychic paper, and then she become a little bit bumbly and be like, oh, go, let me get this, And last week in Kablam, there was another scene where she was a bit like that.
Yeah.
She was just about to hit the peak, really, nail down her authority, and you're like, okay, here we go, and then she fumbles around a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with the Doctor doing that. I just think that sometimes it does. I agree with you both. There are scenes where she maybe comes across a bit silly, like at the very start where she's like, "Oh, I love what was it? With the apples." It's just ran across like a bit of a child. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's just where it's placed and how it's done. And I think that it's nice to have them scenes in fun little moments. But I think when she's in the middle of confronting a villain and then she starts being a bit fumbly and a bit bumbly and a bit silly, that's when it can sort of take you out the moment.
That's what drives me mad the most.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. It's not the actual content as such. It's just where it suddenly appears.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought she was incredible this week, and the scene where she was tied up and confronting King James, she was amazing.
Oh yes, that was a very good scene.
It was nice to see the Doctor actually confront a villain who was actually felt. Well, not even necessarily a villain, but just confront someone.
Yeah, I agree. She was on top of her game this week. What about the companions then? Because I feel like we've been not conditioned in a way to have a sort of a level of expectation with the three of them, because you can't really have all three of them firing at the top every single week because there's just not enough time in the episode to do that. So usually one week you've got one that stands out, another drops back, and then the next week another one will stand out, another one drops back. And maybe in the last couple of episodes they've all sort of been at a level playing field. You know, even Graham to a certain extent, you know, as good as he's been, just sort of levelled out to a consistent. That's what we sort of expect from him.
Well, they even said it in the episode, didn't they? That they're all whatever they said, like a flat, all the same level thing. Yeah.
So there's sort of like a level expectation that I have for all three companions. So do you think that any of them stood out for you this week, or did you think that, as they have been, they've all been okay? Or were there any of them that you thought didn't really do enough this week? Where did you stand with the three of them?
I mean, naturally, Graham is always... I think he's definitely got to be my favourite companion now. Just, you know, he's brilliant. But at the same time, Yasmin and Ryan, I think both had their good moments as well. They all seem to have a part to play in the plot, which was quite nice. It wasn't like Yaz just got left behind to do something on her own. So I think it's good to see everyone having an input.
What do you think of the three of them, Liv?
I think for me, every week, who I enjoy the most is always Graham. Because with Graham, he's serious sometimes, and then all of a sudden he's so funny.
Yeah. I agree with Graham. I think he's just a likeable character, so I'll just enjoy any scene he's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just has to be on screen.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, there was a few scenes in there which I liked, especially when the Doctor was about to get dunked and he come running in and he was demanding that they stop it. He was demanding King James to get her out of there, which was a
casual Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a really nice scene from him, and I thought it was nice to see that side of him where he was demanding that the Doctor get saved. I thought Ryan had a couple of good moments as well. Yaz, I felt like we might have been going backwards slightly to the start of the series. I mean, she had some good scenes with Willa, but other than that, when I look back, I can't really think of anything she did. Because with Ryan, I sort of see that the good relationship he had with King James I. Graham, I thought, just had a great all-round performance, as he always does.
Always.
But Yaz, I just felt like we were going backwards a little bit. I felt like she was just following them around a little bit, and she had a line here, a line there, but if you took her out the episode, you know, apart from when she maybe saved Willa's life at the start, would she have made any more of an impact, do you think? That's where I'm a bit...
I don't know. I don't think that she did go into the background at all. I think she did have a part to play, and I think you could probably say the same about Ryan and maybe even Graham. If you did take them out, the story would still work. But I guess, well, it's your opinion at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think that when I look back at the things I remember that are the most memorable about this episode, Yaz doesn't fall into many of them.
No.
Okay.
But, you know, she still gave a great performance, and as we say every week, it's very difficult to fit all three of these into a story and make them all sort of stand out. Midway through the episode, we met some very creepy looking mud zombies, And I thought they really, really looked menacing.
Yeah, they were really creepy.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it
I
at
wasn't.
all.
And at this point in the episode, I think I did need a pick-me-up. You know, when in our first watch, I did say after 20 or so minutes, we were a little bit like bored and the phone started coming out. And on second viewing, it was nowhere near as bad. But still at that point, I was hoping for a slight pick-me-up. Let's get the momentum going. And I thought that when them mud zombies appeared, they really gave that momentum. I thought they looked good.
Yeah.
They were really, really creepy.
But what got me, like, they did look good, but yet again, them mud zombies weren't any threat in any way, apart from so apart from all they wanted was Becca, and that was it.
Yeah, they weren't much of a threat to the Doctor and the companions.
No.
Yeah, maybe their potential wasn't quite fulfilled in my eyes. I sort of agree. They had great look, and the scenes they were in, they were creepy and they were pretty good. But I would have liked them to maybe have posed a little bit more of a threat to the Doctor and the companions. What do you think, Jacob? I have a feeling you might disagree with us on.
Well, initially I did disagree, but I can see where you're coming from with the whole. Like, I don't think they had as much of a massive threat as they tried to be. I think they tried to be something bigger than they actually were. But I suppose you have to think about that, whatever the guard, I guess, I can't remember what his name was, that got killed by them because he stood in the way. I don't know if anyone got in the way of those zombie creatures when they were going into wherever, they would have just killed.
Yeah, maybe they should have written a few more characters to
just to
get in the way.
Kind of emphasise whatever threat they wanted them to have, because it wasn't extremely obvious.
Yeah, I agree. I think that maybe, you know, they were written to be deadly. They were written to, you know, if you get in the way of these zombies, they will just kill you outright. But I don't think they showed that enough.
It wasn't put across very well.
Yeah, their potential wasn't 100% fulfilled, but I could see where they were going with it.
Yeah.
And they looked fantastic, and the actors who were portraying
they did look very good.
them were very, very good. This is where the episode sort of got weird for me. Up until this point, there's a few things that could have been done better, but overall on second viewing, up until this point, I was really enjoying this episode. And then there was the twist with Miss Savage, and we were revealed to who the greater villain was, and that was Morax. And this is when things just got weird for me. I thought that, the scene when the Doctor was hung and the companions were demanding that she survive, and then she does, and then we reveal that Becca's the... it was a very well done scene, but I thought that the reveal that it was Becca all along was a tad predictable.
Yeah.
And I'm comparing this. Yeah, I'm comparing this to Kablam a little bit. One of the great things about Kablam last week was that you didn't really know who the villain was until the end, like this one. But the difference between this week's episode and last week's episode is last week there were multiple suspects who it could have been.
Yeah. And
the episode played really well on making you think it could be this person or it could be that person. Could it be Charlie? Could it be Judy? Could it be whatever? But with this one, I feel like it really could have only been Becca who was the villain. It couldn't have been King James. It couldn't have been Willa. Who else could it have been? So I felt like it was a little bit predictable. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
It was, but I didn't know obviously in what way she would be the villain, and if that makes sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How the context of it all. So as much as it was obvious, it's still I still kept on wanting to watch purely because I wanted to know how she was the villain, how she got into all of this mess.
Yeah, and the story behind how she did was quite good. That the Morax were imprisoned in this it looked like a tree. It was like this ancient prison thing, and it had obviously been hacked away at for such a long time. And just because Becca wanted to hack the tree down because it was hindering her view, she obviously released these creatures into the open, and in the end obviously released Morax, which obviously attached to her, which was, that's a good enough story. But when she turned into Morax, I feel like the momentum this episode had sort of built up to that point was completely lost when Morax appeared. Because I thought the look of her looked very strange, and the voice especially. it was almost like they'd shoved her voice, the actress's voice, into Audacity and messed around with it for a bit, deepened it, distorted it slightly, and that was it. She was like,
yeah, she was like that.
I couldn't take her seriously, basically.
No.
And all the momentum up until that big reveal, and then she spoke, and I was like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When that scene happened, I was a bit. This is interesting.
Yeah, the voice was just a bit strange.
What got me was that Morak's bit just totally confused me, and part of this episode is that overall, first it was about witches and then Satan, and then also what annoyed me the most was that Satan, so it was repeated 1,001 times. So at the start, that did my head in, and then all of a sudden it flipped to Morak. So I was thinking, what the hell is going on here?
It wasn't your type of episode, was it?
No, I can tell.
Not.
I can tell.
Definitely not my type of episode.
I think that was purely the whole Satan thing was purely just because, obviously, back then they just assumed everything was Satan. Everything bad that happened was because of Satan, or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I can see where you're coming from. They did mention it a lot, but if it's not your type of episode, then it's gonna probably bug you even more.
Yeah.
It was just. It's just the way the episode was. That's the times they were in. That was the witch hunt. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of like magic and fantasy and wizardry, and I've never liked playing magical fantasy games. I've always been one for something that's a little bit more realistic and relatable and contemporary.
Yeah.
You know, I'll hold my hands up, and a lot of people are probably going to kill me, but I've never really been the biggest fan of the Harry Potter movies.
No, I haven't.
For that reason, I'm not for fantasy and magic and wizardry and witches. I mean, it's just, I'm not into that sort of genre.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously when Doctor Who does that, and Doctor Who can blend it and merge itself into any genre, really, it just does depend on what sort of episode it morphs itself into. And, you know, maybe for you especially, Liv, this sort of episode wasn't for you.
No.
Which is fine.
Exactly. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah. So, talking of wizardry, Morax comes flying out of a tree.
Well, you put it like that. Okay.
They fight her back with glowing pitchforks with fire on them or something, and then they shove the fire into the tree, destroying her in a big lightning, flashy, Harry Potter-esque ending.
Yeah.
Which, for me, like I've just said, was a bit over the top and a bit too like, oh wow, okay, you know, not too sure how I felt.
But then, would you have been a bit underwhelmed if it was just a simple, I'm just going to sonic you and you're just going to melt into the ground?
Of course, it could have been.
So it's just a case of what would be better, what would be worse. Yeah.
So the ending was okay.
Yeah, I think for what it was pretty good.
Yeah, for what it was, exactly. So I think we've covered most of the episodes. Anything else that we've missed that you guys can think about that we may have?
Not at the moment.
No, I thought the Sonic didn't get on my nerves this week for the first time in a while.
It didn't seem, and it wasn't all these over-exaggerated uses of it. So that was another positive. Yeah,
the Sonic wasn't as annoying. Did you like the score this week? I wouldn't say I noticed Sagun's score as much as I have done.
It was a bit more subtle, which is probably a good thing. It's kind of nice to not have a score that's overriding everything all the time. Yeah, true. So let's conclude and give our ratings for this one then. Who wants to go first?
Should I go first?
Oh, go on then, Liv.
Here we go.
Let's get you out the way.
And just get it over with.
Yeah.
Like I've said, this type of story isn't for me at all. And overall, because on second watch, it improved a bit, but not that much for me to really enjoy. So I'm going to rate it a 4. Oof. I'm going to rate it a 4.
Ouch.
Ooh, didn't expect it to be quite that low. To go for a 5 or a 6.
Rated a 4.
A 4, fair enough. I'll go next, since we're going from the bottom. Working our way up.
What's going to be surprising if your rating is higher than mine, because that's going to bugger it up, isn't it?
It is. That's really going to blow things out of the water. Pardon the pun, maybe. So yeah, I thought The Witchfinders was a solid enough episode. A second watch really did it justice for me. It wasn't quite my type of episode, but I can appreciate it for what it was. I thought the set design was fantastic. I thought all the side characters were amazing. The Doctor was at her best this week. I thought she was amazing, Jodie, this week. She's really come into her own. The TARDIS team were okay. Didn't do anything to really blow me away, but they were solid enough. King James, his performance from Alan Cummins was incredible. His performance in certain scenes when he was a bit more toned down was much better. Other times he grinded on me a little bit. And overall, I thought the momentum and where the episode built up to its conclusion was very, very good. Some great scenes in there. But yeah, unfortunately, when we got to the whole Morax reveal, I felt it was a bit predictable, a bit over the top. I didn't really like the villain. The voice just grated on me. And the problem with this episode is sometimes it did feel like it was straight out of a pantomime, especially with the ending when it was all big and explosive and over the top. Yeah, not quite the ending for me, but overall a solid enough story that I really enjoyed and I can appreciate it, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh.
God, that's high. 7?
Oh.
Really?
I was going to give it a 7.5, but I thought...
Oh my
7.
god.
Bloody hell, that's a bit too high for my liking, but fair play. Fair
Even by my standards.
Fair play.
Jacob, please tell me your high rating.
So, The Witchfinders.
I'm giving it a 6.5. Damn it.
So, I thought that The Witchfinders was a fairly solid episode, and when thinking about it, I have to think about if I'd rewatch it again, and when I did, would I actually enjoy it? And I think I would happily rewatch it again. It was a solid episode with a good plot and good side characters, which were portrayed really well, unlike some of the side characters we've had before. I do agree that some of the writing for some characters got a bit out of hand at times, particularly for King James. But the threat of this episode was really intriguing for me. I found the whole witch thing quite fascinating, and I was wondering where it was going to go, and I wasn't expecting it to be a whole tree thing on a hill. So yeah, I think it was a whole mixed episode. It had lots of different things all jammed in together, which is kind of what makes a Doctor Who episode good for me. So I'm also giving it a 7.
Oh.
Didn't expect you to give it a 7 as well.
Wow.
A 7?
Yeah.
Yes, Liv, a 7. Well.
I wasn't expecting you to give it a 7 at all, if I'm honest.
What were you expecting from me then?
I don't know, like a 5 or 6.
No, I thought, I saw the positives in it on rewatch. Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad.
Liv can't believe
Liv
it.
can't.
No,
Liv
I can't believe it, that it's a bloody 7.
I don't think Liv ever will.
No, I won't.
With this episode, just leave
No.
it. Forget it.
No, leave it, forget it.
Something happened on rewatch. I can't explain it. But that's why it's always good to watch an episode
It
twice.
is.
Yes.
You never know. Jacob might watch it twice and suddenly give it a 4 as well.
Oh yeah, I might watch it again next week and absolutely despise it. I might give it a 0.
A 1.
A 1.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Doctor Who. Episodes and rankings can change on a weekly basis. It just depends on what mood you're in.
Exactly.
So yeah, well, 2 7s and a 4. Ah, good old Liv. And she's got a thumbs up right now. So yeah, do like this video if you've enjoyed this review. Of course, subscribe to this channel if you want to see much more Doctor Who Series 11 content and reviews. Of course, we've only got 2 more reviews left now.
Next week's going to be fun, I think.
Yes, it certainly is. And then after
I'm a
that,
bit
it's the
excited
finale.
for next week.
Yes, I can't wait for it. Of course, after Series 11, there's going to be loads of content coming after that. There's the New Year's special. There's much more to come after that as well. And as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel, you can subscribe to us on any of your chosen podcast providers, where, of course, you can listen to this very review on the go, wherever you want, however you want. Yeah, so comment below, as I've said, what you think of this episode, what you'd rate it out of 10. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Liv? Do you agree with Jacob? And follow us across all social media for all updates, and please donate to us on Patreon if you would like to do that. But yeah, other than that, that's our review of The Witchfinders, and all I can say is that we will see you next week for episode 9.
Oh yes.
unless I decide to release my Why I Don't Like the TARDIS video.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Negativity alert.
Guys, here we go. We'll see you next time.